Get ready for the most explosive moments from Donald Trump's conversation with Joe Rogan. In a talk that's already hit over 25 million views, Trump shares opinions that challenge the system, from the idea of ending income tax to remarks on conservatives as today's rebels. And of course, he didn't hold back on topics like fake news, big pharma, and his well-known clashes with the media. Want to understand why this interview stopped the internet? And what did Trump say that even caught Joe Rogan off guard? Get ready for an analysis that goes beyond the headlines and reveals the most interesting details of this conversation everyone's talking about. Trump's interview with Joe Rogan quickly went viral, reaching millions of views within hours. The talk, full of sensitive and controversial topics, instantly became the topic of the day, demonstrating the power of open conversations on issues often avoided by traditional media. The dynamic between Rogan and Trump allowed for a frank discussion on complex topics, a rarity in political interviews. This freedom grabbed the public's attention, drawing in both supporters and critics who wanted to hear what Trump had to say. Rogan, known for his direct, unfiltered style, gave Trump room to discuss his preferred topics without interruption, creating a genuine dialogue. This helped the interview reach an uncommon level of authenticity, further captivating the audience. In the end, the interview was not just an ordinary conversation. It showed how political communication can be engaging and accessible when done honestly and without pretense, something that clearly resonated with millions of viewers. During the interview, Trump introduced his bold idea of eliminating income tax in the United States, replacing it with an import tax. According to him, this change would relieve the financial burden on the population, placing the tax weight on foreign products. It's a concept he has mentioned before, sparking curiosity and controversy. Trump argues that by reducing taxes on citizens, the government would stimulate domestic spending and directly benefit American families. He sees the import tax as a way to protect the national market while ensuring a revenue source, though the effectiveness of this model remains widely debated. The proposal, however, faces significant criticism. Experts argue that eliminating income tax could unbalance the federal budget, placing excessive pressure on imported products. For Trump, however, this is a manageable risk that can be resolved through more efficient government spending. Trump's stance on income tax touches on something bigger, economic freedom as a fundamental right. For those who support a truly free market, ending all forms of taxation represents the chance to build an economy where exchanges are voluntary and people keep the value they produce. During the interview, Trump pointed out an interesting shift. Conservatives are now seen as the new rebels. Over time, he believes, conservatism has transformed from a traditional stance to a movement that actively challenges the system, taking on a role once held by the left. This view challenges the classic stereotype that rebellion belongs to the left. Today, many young people and groups who disagree with a rigid system dominated by state bureaucracy and mainstream media see conservatism as an authentic, countercultural alternative. This phenomenon is visible not only in the US, but also in various countries, including Brazil. The new conservative rebellion is also fueled by dissatisfaction with political correctness and growing censorship on digital platforms. Trump argues that the modern system has become a controlling machine, labeling any divergent opinion as unacceptable. In this context, being conservative has almost become synonymous with being anti-establishment. However, this shift does not go uncriticized. Some question whether this rebellious conservatism truly focuses on freedom or simply seeks to impose a new order. Libertarians, for example, worry that without a clear defense of individual liberty above all, conservatism may end up repeating the same mistakes of the current system. For Trump and his supporters, however, this conservative rebellion represents a necessary resistance against state control and media manipulation. And for many who feel stifled by the status quo, this new stance is attractive precisely for its defiance of established ideas and challenge to traditional institutions. In the episode, Trump criticized the media harshly, accusing it of manipulating information and creating distorted narratives to control public opinion. To him, fake news is one of the greatest obstacles to free thought, as it limits access to unbiased information and fosters widespread mistrust. Trump compared the treatment he and other conservatives receive with how the mainstream media ignores or softens issues when it involves left-leaning politicians. This bias, he argues, is clear evidence of manipulation. Those who question the official narrative are seen as enemies, while system allies are protected at all costs. This critical stance toward the media reflects a libertarian view of information's role. The monopoly of large media companies is seen as a threat to free expression, with filters that decide what the public can and cannot know. Without a truly free and independent press, public debate becomes biased, and dissenting voices are marginalized. Another point he raised was the hypocrisy in the fight against fake news. While the media attacks independent outlets and influencers for spreading incorrect information, it itself commits errors or exaggerates facts that do not support its viewpoint, reinforcing only what serves the status quo. Ultimately, Trump's criticism of the media reflects concern over the impact these manipulated narratives have on democracy. For him and his supporters, the real antidote to fake news is decentralizing information, giving more freedom to independent sources, and allowing the public to judge the information for themselves. Trump addressed election security, criticizing the U.S. voting system for not requiring clear voter identification in some states. He argued that this lack of control creates opportunities for fraud and undermines the integrity of the election process, which fosters public distrust. According to Trump, ensuring that each voter is properly identified would strengthen democracy. He argued that most countries require some form of verification and that, in the U.S., this practice should be uniformly applied to ensure every vote is legitimate. However, the debate over voter ID is controversial. While some see this requirement as protection, others believe it could limit access for some voters, especially in areas where obtaining documents is more difficult. Libertarians, meanwhile, argue that the system should be clear but also free from excessive interference that complicates the right to vote. For Trump, electoral security should be a priority, especially when trust in public institutions is already shaken. He believes that stricter measures are essential to restoring citizens' confidence that their votes will be counted fairly and accurately. Trump wrapped up the interview by reaffirming his optimism about the future and confidence in his popular support. To him, the challenges facing the country, both in politics and media, are opportunities for Americans to rethink the role of government and individual freedom in society. He also pointed out that current polarization reflects a larger movement. People search for an authentic and unfiltered voice. Trump believes this desire for freedom and transparency could drive a political renewal, making way for new leaders who uphold these values. For his supporters, this vision represents a chance to challenge the status quo and build a country more aligned with individual liberty principles. In the end, Trump emphasized the importance of maintaining direct dialogue with the people, regardless of criticism, as he sees this movement as the path to a stronger future that serves the population's interests. If you enjoyed this recap of Trump's interview with Joe Rogan, be sure to like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with friends who might also find this discussion intriguing. And to stay up to date on the latest developments in American politics, check out our video, Kamala Harris Spends Millions, but Trump Leads. What does this mean? In it, you'll understand how the difference in spending between Harris and Trump could impact the race, and what these numbers really reveal about the election.